This conference will now be recorded.
So if someone is asking, what is DevOps? Why do we need it? Um, what are the advantages of DevOps? How to implement the DevOps? So those are the things we should know actually. So today I'll have one session for DevOps. Uh, I'm starting little in slow. I'm in say like not suddenly bombarding you with the content and so much of sessions slowly, and then after one or two sessions I'll speed up this stuff. That way you will not feel overwhelmed with the too much of things to study. Okay. So one part of the discussions I'll do that today, and second part of the discussions I'll do that tomorrow. Tomorrow again we have Linux sessions as well. So accordingly we'll go ahead. So let's get started. So first question is, what is DevOps? Are you able to see my screen, all of you?
Yes, Rajesh.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
Yes, Rajesh. Yes.
So the question was, what is DevOps? So guys, let me put it in this way. DevOps is not something new what we have. It's not new. Many people say DevOps is like a new things. DevOps is like new ways, new technology, all this thing. But it's not something new. We've been doing from last many years, but the context we are changing. Now also, if you see that context has changed. So if you want to understand the DevOps, you have to go in the little bit of histories of DevOps, history of software development. Okay. So if you look at the 1990s, I think most of you, I'm assuming most of you are young people, maybe born in 2000 or maybe 1990s plus. So like that. So if you look at the 1990s era in the software development, we were running software in on desktop. Still we are using laptop, is like you can say desktop itself. And then at the time, if I say, hey, we need to set up some application, let's say MS Office or something. So you acquire the hardware, install operating system, install prerequisite driver, all this thing, blah, blah, blah. And then install the software and then you make up and running. How much time it used to take? 1 day. How we were consuming applications? Console based. Console means something which you are using right now in your laptop. Console. You have a console. It's not a browser. It's not an app. It's a console based. Now, if you ask a software organization at that time, how you deliver the software, organization will like Microsoft, Adobe system and all. So how do they deliver the software? So at that time they were using CDs, okay, for delivering the software. I have delivered the software in every floppy disk also. I don't know how many of you have seen or used it, but it was only the size. The size was 2 MB. I repeat, 2 MB. Okay. So we used to do the assignment in home, go to office, go to college, and then submit in floppy disk. That is how we used to do that. And I think one floppy disk used to cost, I guess, 10-15 rupees or something like that. So yeah, we used to deliver the CDs. And what was the release cycle? Release cycle means Microsoft and Adobe system, how much time they will take to develop a software like Adobe system and MS, Photoshop and let's say this one, what do you say, MS Office. It will take 1 year. They will take 1 year to develop a software, deliver in CDs. You can install in your desktop. Setup time is 1 day, and then you'll use it with the console. Correct? All of you agree with me?
Yes.
So at that time, what was the architecture we were following? Software architecture. So here at that time, monolithic we had it. And then next question is, what are the development model we had? Waterfall model. I am sure you might have studied this in your colleges also. Some of your projects still must be using waterfall model and so on. So monolithic means every functionality of the software is hard coded in one package. And model means waterfall model means everything is in sequence. That means why has become a development time used to be 1 year, because we do spend 2 months on the requirement analysis, 2 months on design, 2 to 3 months on implementation, then two months to verification, and then maintenance. So this will become 1 year, and we do in a sequence. And you must also remind yourself, for each and everything we had a different teams. Actually, there is only one product but multiple teams. So how many teams we'll have? One, two, three, four, 5 teams. So in waterfall model, you saw that 5 teams we had it. Agree with me, all of you? Hello, hello.
Yes, Raj.
Yes, Rajesh.
Yeah. So we had a 5 team. That's how is unfair. Mind it here. Waterfall model, 5 teams, only one product. 5 teams mean 5 mindset, 5 different culture, 5 different tool sets, 5 different types of politics. You'll have it. You know, one team is good. 5 teams are not good for only one cause. So like that. So now the question you should ask, okay, why at that time the software professionals opted for waterfall model? So if you ask me, before waterfall model, what we had? So we had a hierarchical model, network model actually. Before that also. So before waterfall model, how much time you used to take for the software development? 5 years. If you go for the DARPA and all, they'll tell we used to develop a software in 5 years, 6 years and all. And by the time software is out to the market, requirement is over for that software. So likewise. So what has happened? Waterfall model has reduced the timeline from 1 year, 5 years to 1 year. And that was the crazy things at that time. Now you feel it's nothing, but at that time it was a good thought. Okay. So if you are from the old school, very old school 80s student, if you are 80s born, probably you might have gone through waterfall training actually. Just now you are doing the DevOps training. So likewise. So why we migrated? So important thing is quality release of the software. That means your company wanted to improve the quality of the software. They wanted to do immediate release, 5 years to 1 year, and they wanted to reduce the cost in development and runtime. So that was the reason behind it. And then finally we got the internet. I don't think so I have to tell you what is internet. You know that very well. We started accessing website through browser and so on. So look at this. So remember that earlier the compute you were consuming, who were paying in a desktop, who were paying for the compute? Can you please tell me, for running a software? Who were paying for it? All of you.
So, Rajesh, what is your question? Sorry.
So in 1990s, when you were running application in a desktop, who were paying for compute resources? Compute means CPU and RAM and storage.
Right.
You were paying for it because
Yes.
you bought the desktop, right? You bought the laptop,
Yes.
correct now? But in a virtual, so in a when you go for the internet-based application, what will happen? Who's paying for your application runtime? So it's running in the data center,
Organization.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Google is
Yes.
running their own data center.
Service
Amazon is
provider,
running
service provider.
service provider, yes. Flipkart is running on their own servers. So when they started running your servers, your applications, you are consuming it, and you are not paying for consuming application, mind it. See, Amazon.com, if you only browse it, you are not paying for it. If you buy it, then you are paying for it, like that. So now software organization decided, hey, we are running so many servers, physical servers in our data center. That's too much of cost, too much of wastage. So something we have to do. In 2000 onwards, what has happened? They started migrating to virtual servers. And probably if you are in that mode and that time, if you have joined your started your career, maybe I mean started your college maybe, so you might have seen that. So virtual servers. Now virtual servers like a VMware, vSpheres, AWS came, Azure came, Google Cloud later on came. So all these thing is a virtual servers. In virtual server, how much time it will take? Only 5 minutes. If I say, hey, I want to set up an application, no problem. Create a VMs on AWS, Azure, or your laptop itself. VirtualBox, I'll teach you. Okay. And then 5 minutes, your software is up and running. How you are consuming application? Through browser. How we were delivering the software? Through internet download. What was the release cycle? 2 weeks. Why 2 weeks? I'll put it in a very simple way. See, if let's say you are using flipkart.com, okay, for some buying, and they have a bugs in the software, how would you react if they say, hey, I will go, don't worry about that, we'll fix next year that problem? How do you react? Tell me, all of you.
Yeah, we'll
Now,
say what
Obviously,
kind
we
of
won't
service
like.
they are providing.
yeah, you will just you know, give all bad comments on the Twitter and all kind of things, right? So that is something. So what organization has to do, they had to reduce the release cycle. So reduce the release cycle, so they had to change the architecture of the software also. Many things will change. So they decided, hey, we'll go for the architecture which is SOA. SO means service-based architecture. That means what we'll do, we'll not run in everything in all the features in one go. We'll run web component, web server, app server, database servers, cache server, login server, CDN servers, this server, that server. So we'll distribute that architecture so that failures and load and performance, security, all these things can be managed. So they migrate to SOA. I remember I was in SOA training and service-based architecture training very long time back when I started my journey. Now the question is, waterfall model is done. So what we call this model where you do the release in a 2 weeks of time, you follow the service-based architecture and so on. So we started calling this as a agile. Okay, agile. Scrum, Kanban. You might have heard about it. So yeah, just spend if you have not heard about Agile, Scrum, Kanban, spend some time offline and take a note, personal note actually now itself. Don't miss it anything if I say. So just spend some offline time and then understand the Agile. So we have a Agile. Okay. So what happened? Agile. So remember that in waterfall model we had a 5 teams. Remember that. But in Agile, what has happened? We got a 2 teams right now. What teams? So what happened? An agile team, what they merge development and testing team and architect team, they merge into one team and they call it agile, and then operations were separate. So here we got a 2 teams, and that is how we got started. So this is something which has happened in 2020s. Now this is a UC uh, agile picture. It's agile team. You have everyone, development, testing team, architecture and all together. They are having daily meetings, sync up and try to do the release once in a two weeks or something. That means in a 2 weeks they have to develop, they have to plan, they have to develop, they have to test, they have to release everything. They have to do that. Now the question is, you will ask why we are migrating from the waterfall model to agile. Same region, same region. They want, organization wanted to improve the quality, immediate release they wanted to bring it, cost reduction in development runtime they wanted to bring it. So they migrated to agile. I remember I had a very bad feeling when I was into the agile training. Then I used to think, I still remember that I used to think, why these are people are introducing new process. It was good, no, we are working on a waterfall model. Why the unnecessarily training this, that, this process, this tool, this practices you need to follow. So we were getting irritated initially, but later on got used to it. So likewise, and then now we have a era which is that we are consuming application through mobile. Is a app based application. Most of the, if you're not a software engineer, then if you ask how you are consuming the software, they'll say I have a mobile, I have apps. They will not say laptop, this, that and all. They are consuming through apps. And what is this? You know that very well, I don't need to tell you. One thing which is important for all of us is we all are connected. Let's say, let me remind you, I'm using the same Facebook what you are using. I'm using the same LinkedIn what you are using. I'm using the same HDFC Bank what you are using. I'm using the same Make My Trip what you are using. I'm using the same Amazon what you are using. Don't you think so? We all are connected to the same app, all of you.
Yes.
Now I'll ask you one very simple question, and please answer it wisely. Let's say, Ola, you are trying to rush to office, okay, and you're trying to book a cab, and Ola is not responding only for 2 seconds. I repeat, only for 2 seconds. What you would do? Tell me.
We'll take a taxi which is there on the road available.
Probably you will say, hey, let's check with the Uber, correct? Immediately
Right.
within
We
a
will
2 second.
include. Yeah.
Yeah, let's check the Uber. Let's check the something Meru in Bengaluru, Meru, I think, or Blue has come. Blue has come, or there's one more. Bengaluru, it's like every new technology you get it immediately.
Yeah,
So,
Nammayatri we have in Bengaluru.
that is also there, and there's a Rapido also auto if you want and all kind of things. Yeah. So immediately you change the vendors. Just remember that you change the vendors. I mean your service provider within a 2 second. I remember my dad. I used to tell him, hey, let's not invest money in the post office and bank. Let's put it in the stock market. When I was started my career, I was very into. I was thinking like, okay, I know everything, though I was wrong. But I used to tell. So my dad used to respond, no, I'm using post office and banking services, fixed deposit from last 20 years. I trust them. I don't know what you're talking about. Stock market, this, that, and all, this game, all this thing. So my dad or our parents were not changing the service provider, in 2 seconds. Now we are changing the service provider within a 2 seconds. So now the problem what you have is for software organizations. Think about it, very simple. We are a software engineers now. An organization is saying, hey, if you do not offer the services which is highly available, scalable, good performance, secured, and 24 by 7 up and running without a single second of downtime, then we will not be able to capture the market. Now this all is coming to us. We have to develop a software which is with the quality, lesser cost, and then we have to release the speedy. Every hour we need to release, every week we need to release, something like that. We need to do that reduction of everything. So we need to focus on the quality. Again, same goal, immediate release and cost reduction in development runtime. Same goal again, which we had earlier 20 years before. Now also we have the same goal. The only thing is we have only one version of software. Everyone is connected together 24 by 7 up and running with no downtime. So now what to do? So the guys, we reach to the same points. We have to migrate ourselves from the previous generation to new generation. So what we should migrate, where we should run application in the 2020s. So you should know containers. You should run in container. Do you know containers? Docker and Kubernetes? You don't know? I'll teach you for this.
Yes.
I'll teach you for this. So you have to migrate yourself. We are doing nothing great actually. We are just transforming. Setup time you should take 1 second. How it is possible in a 1 second? See that how we are transforming from 1 day to 5 minutes, 5 minutes to 1 second with the help of containers. Okay. How we are using consuming through apps, how we are delivering the software through stores. What should be the release cycle? 1 hour. See here, something which we are doing in 1 year. Now, as part of the agile, let's say in the 1990s, we were developing 100 features in 1 year. In the 20s, what we did, we'll say agile, what we said, hey, we'll not develop 100 features in 1 year, but we'll develop 1 or 2 feature in 2 weeks. I will plan, I will develop, I will test it, I'll make it awesome in production, but in 2 weeks. Now same thing you have to reduce in 1 hour. That do you have to plan for it, you have to test code for it, you have to test for it, and you have to make it live in 1 hour. Then you'll say, Rajesh, how come is possible? It's not possible. So you have to change the architecture also. Microservices. What is microservices? Anyone would like to share that information? What is microservices? All of you.
Is it decoupling the services for each
Yeah.
functionalities?
So guys, this you take a one notes, personal notes. This will be assignment for all of you. A little bit of study you have to do offline for microservices. But here I'll tell you in a high level. So guys, think in simple way. There is one software. How many functionality you have? So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. How many people are working in this product? 50 people. How much code you have? Let's say 1 million lines of code you have. How much time it's taking to build? So planning, because 50 people work together for planning, so it'll take, let's say, few days, let's say 5 days. Okay. And how much time is to code? Let's say 5 days. How much time to test and deploy? Let's say 5 days. So you can say two weeks and 2.5 weeks or something like that, 3 weeks, something like that. So this is agile, which you are doing agile development. So all these features, so you make a small changes here, you have to build entire thing, you have to test entire thing, you have to deploy entire thing, and so on. So this is something which we are doing in agile SOA concept. Are you comfortable, all of you?
Yes, Rajesh.
Yes.
Now in a microservices, what we do, this is a service, okay? So microservices, what we do, we separate the code. Each functions, we separate the code. And this code is just a one microservice. Likewise, hundreds of microservices you'll have it. Now, earlier we had 1 million lines of code. Now, how much code you have? Only this is 5,000 lines of code you have. Only 5,000 lines of code. So this is written in Java. This is written in Python. This is written in Go. This is written in .NET. This is written in Ruby, and so on. Different languages. That means you don't need to teach every engineers one technology. Everyone can write in different technology. Now, because of this, it's just a 5,000 lines of code. Your development time has been reduced to maybe 1 hour because only 5,000 lines of code. Testing time maybe 5 minutes. Build times maybe 2 minutes. Operations 1 minute. So tell me, now which you are doing in 2 weeks as part of Agile, can't you do only these features, only this microservices, this function in 1 hour? What do you think? Only 5,000 lines of code. All of you?
Yes, it can be done.
It can be done. No one is asking
So
you to do
Rajesh, one
entire.
question. Like
Yeah.
for every functionality with what you said, like we are, let's say we had 30 functionality. For every functionality, we are segregating, like we are dividing it among
Yeah.
the developers, testers, and after like they are completed within 1 hour or 2 hour, like we are doing the testing, right? So this is the
Yeah.
advantage of microservices, dividing
But
each functionality and sending to the team.
but one thing you said is wrong. 5 microservices, realistic? No. Look at this image. This is the real image of Uber microservices. You think it's
So
applications? How many microservices you have? Hundreds of
mm,
it. 100, 500, 400.
mm, mm, mm.
See that this is a real picture of microservices of Uber. If you think it's just we book it and then it's just a one-page application, look at this how it's been done. It's a real image. Got it?
Okay.
So now the question is, tell me one thing. If you are a CTO of your organization, and in your view, think simple, okay? If you're a CTO of organization, and in your view, every engineers in your organizations are software engineers. Every engineers.
Mhm.
If you're at a high level, you don't see who's developer, who's a testing team, who's a what
Right.
exactly. For them, everyone is engineer, software engineer, everyone is qualified engineers. Everyone can do everything. So for this microservices, how many resources you will allocate? Likewise, you have hundreds of microservices. And you had earlier in Agile, you had a 50 people, and let's say you have 50 microservices. So how many resources you will allocate for one microservices? All of you?
One resource is enough for one microservice.
Mind it, you only said one resources. And I must remind you here.
Depends upon
But
the
Yeah, depends
depends
on that,
upon.
but I'm just generic one. I'm generic.
but in that way, there'll be so many employees, right? Because you are giving each microservices.
So that's what 50 people were managing entire things. Now you said no, one people is managing your microservices.
But
One
that depends
microservice.
upon the qualification. Like he designates what, like.
When I'm not complicating this discussion right now, each and every small thing, but at high level, I'm trying to help you to understand. Okay, so let's say you have one microservices, and this is you. Yes, this is you. You got ownership of this microservices, and you will maintain only 4 functions: see, create function, read function, update function, and delete function. In this, only 5,000 lines of code. And now I must remind you, you need to plan, you need to code, you need to test, and you need to deploy. You need to become everything for that microservices, and that is something. See, earlier you will sing I'm a dev, you will say I'm architect. Some of you say I'm from testing team. Some of you say I'm from IT team, this team, that team. But now you have to change yourself. You have to become everything, not for
Right.
entire code line, but only for this 5,000 lines of code. So now what is happening? CTO is thinking, hey, we are changing the microservices. So what will happen? The advantage is, let's say if you have hundreds of features in your software, if one is, let's say this is a release 3.0, this is 5.0, this is 6.0, this is 7.0. So now if you are making release only this one, so rest of the things still working and running. There's no downtime actually. And for deploying this one, how much time it will take? Few seconds, 2-3 seconds, and you deploy. Earlier used to take many hours of downtime. So now Ola will not make you upset because you will not realize when they upgraded it. And most of the time they have two versions of it live. Are you understanding the beauty of it? So now the question is, your CTO will say, hey, can we have a 1% or 2% allocated to each microservices, or maybe 1% allocated to 4-5 microservices, depends on the bandwidth, and let them write in whatever language you want to write. Don't need to change the programming language. You are doing the C++, you write in C++ microservices. You know Python, you write in Python. You are in Ruby guy, you write in Ruby. I don't care what programming languages you write, but the input and output should be same. What code you write, I don't care about it. So you don't need to have a upskilling program also. So now the problem which you have in this is like waterfall model. And because waterfall model, we introduce 5 different team. Agile, we introduce 2 different team. Mind it. You'll say I'm a developer. I will not become everything. Some of you say I'm a tester. I'll not become everything. That is the problem. Are you understanding the problem area now? Hello? Hello?
Yes, Russ.
Yes,
Yeah.
Raj.
So now the CTO of the organization will do what? You suggest me. Think you are a CTO of organization and your employees are revolting because they say, hey, I will not do everything. I will not do everything. I'm a dev. I've been doing dev from last 15 years and you are asking me to do everything suddenly. I will not do that. So what you will do? Let's say you are a CTO of organizations. What you will do? Tell me. Any suggestion? I know you know that the answer.
One person like a developer, tester, and release management. So one uh, person from each team, that would be fine.
Yeah, but they are revolting. No, they are saying we will not do everything. They will change the
Okay.
Maybe a
company.
tool, maybe a tool can be support for each section, which can be minimal effort.
Yeah, many things can be done actually in this scenario, but most important things, I will do one thing. Let's say I'm a CTO of one organization where my employees are revolting, they don't want to change. Then I'll put them through the upskilling program, changing first mindset. First, change your mindset. Some sort of training where your mindset will change because you are not accepting now. So there's no need to teach you the technology. First, change the mindset. Hey, build a mindset where you are supposed to learn many things and everything which you are learning is easy to learn. Let's try to become everything, versatile profile, full stack developers. Okay, you do everything, but a small scale you do, not for everything at a large scale. Your work will be still 8 hours. not 9 hours, 10 hours, but in 8 hours, you'll do everything. You should be ready to do architecting, planning. You should be ready to code. You should ready for the coding for the testing. You should ready for the coding for infrastructure operations and production. Change your mindset. So then CTO introduced one program based on the recommendation from the scientist in SDLC, and that program we call it DevOps. Did you understand that, all of you? What is DevOps? So DevOps is a basically keyword. Yes. For what? For changing the mindset and culture. For whom? For two entities, employees and employer both. Mind it, employees, employer. Employee means you are the employee. Employer means your managers and senior managers. Are you understanding me?
Yes.
Hello? So DevOps is just a keyword for transforming your mindset, transforming the culture of the organization for employees and employers both. For what? Let's start doing everything. Let's start migrating to containers. Let's start migrating to microservices. Let's start be having the application running 24/7 without even single millisecond of downtime. You cannot do this using waterfall and agile. You have to migrate to something new. And that transformation, which is been called as a DevOps. So if you really want to
So
understand the more,
is it like versatility? Whatever is required, you're able to do everything that is there.
yes, yes, that's a mindset you have to build it. Yes, I'm ready to do everything. And that kind of mindset, every organization, why they're putting everyone. If you look at any organization from last 8 years, I'm into this corporate program, corporate training actually. Everyone is doing the DevOps transformation. Why? Because they want the engineers to change their mindset. Hey, you were doing one work from last 10 years, but you have to change now. Because if you do not change, our organization will get disappeared because we have a very tough competition in the market from other vendors, other companies, right? Your application has to be run 24/7, highly available, highly scalable, highly qualitative. How can you do that? So you have to change yourself. First mindset, then culture of the team, then technology, then automations, and all these things will come. Many tools I'll teach you along with it. So DevOps is a cultural migrations, cultural transformations. If someone asks you, hey, what is a DevOps? So DevOps, you can say, is like a cultural transformation, you know, method in which we try to change the mindset of employees and employer. Gradually will bring the cultural changes within organizations, which will help us to, for what? Help us to what? Improve the quality of the software, improve the reduction in the cost, development cost and running cost, and most importantly we'll be able to release the software faster than before. So in agile we were doing the release once in a 2 weeks. Now we can do the release every hour, every seconds, and without impacting everyone. You want to do the release, you make it a release. You want to do the release, you are not impacting all other microservices. Just now I showed you, right? See, there's hundreds of microservices. It's written in different languages, managed by different teams or individuals, and they are doing their own call. And every microservices will have a four function: create, read, update, and delete. And every micro API microservices, when you have API, will support what do you say, get, post, put, and delete. You end user. Are you understanding, all of you? All of you?
Yes.
So guys, your focus should be to learning all this thing. So you should focus on to learn what is container, what is microservices, little bit deep dive into DevOps concept, how to implement DevOps, how to implement CI, how to implement CD, how to implement SRE, DevSecOps and all. Because overall that you have to learn everything. So now what we are talking about. So here actually what is we are talking about In agile, if you see, there is a two team. I must remind you, in a waterfall model, we had a five team means five different mindsets, five different culture, five different tool sets, five different practices, five different process, five different managers. Mind it, five different leadership, you know. So, but what is the goal? You had only one goal, five team. Why it was delayed? Because there was five teams were fighting always with each other, not able to integrate the work with each other. So in agile, what we did, we have a two teams, agile team plus operations team. But in DevOps, what we have, everyone together, development and operations, and then we have one team now. So organizations wants to see one team, one mindset, one culture, common tool sets, common practices, common processes. Why? Because they want to introduce the reduction in release cycle. Because if you have a multiple teams, your release will be delayed, quality will be compromised. But if you have one team, one focus, one goal, your release will be faster, quality of the product will be better, and people will have a right integration at right time, and so on. Are you understanding, all of you?
Then if DevOps team have everyone, developer, QA, testers, everything in one role, then why do certain companies still have developers separate and a DevOps team separate?
I must tell you, it's one of the best question. Why? Because I was about to tell you in few minutes. So you know what has happened? Many organizations, most of the organizations, I would say, failed to implement the DevOps properly. Why? Because their intentions were genuine actually. They wanted to migrate into the DevOps, but in order to implement the DevOps, lots of changes required actually at a different level. But because of many regions, there's a endless, you can do the case studies on that, they failed to implement the changes. So now in the some most of the situation what we have, most of the situations what we have, they have a development team also, they have a QA team also, they have architect team also, and they have a DevOps team also. So what they did, wrong implementation of the DevOps. So what they did basically, earlier the build and release engineers, you remember, we had one profile which was a build and release engineers, or operations guys, or someone who's managing the infrastructure in the pre-production and production. They migrated that profile into the DevOps. That is a major mistake they did it, and that is the source of Google introducing SRE. So DevOps implementation failed in the many organizations. So which, because of that, Google introduced SRE and saying that, hey, we have to first implement the SRE in your project, then migrate to DevOps and something like that. So we'll discuss in SRE also some part of it. So I would say in a simple line, that's a wrong implementation. Okay, that's a wrong implementation. Getting opens?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So it's like that. So if they ask you in an interview, hey, this is the DevOps and stuff, so you should say what is the real DevOps, which I'm trying to teach you. But also you should mention, many fail implementations has happened. So the real definition of DevOps is like everyone, whether it's your architect or developer or testing or operations, everyone is inside one team, one mindset, one culture, and all stuff like that. But many times what has happened, most of the organization fail to implement the real DevOps because of certain challenges over the because of inherited problem. Inherited problem means waterfall problems, agile problems. The employee did not want to change, revolted, so management give up all this thing. Or maybe your mentor, DevOps mentor for the organizations were not good. They could not guide it, or maybe management are very reluctant to change. This could be many reasons actually. There's no one reason for it. So likewise. So yes, the focus for the organization is quality release, immediate release, and cost reduction. Multiple teams are there. We need to integrate between all the teams, whether it's a dev, QA, operations, all this thing. So we have a multiple teams, multiple tools, multiple culture and mindset, multiple processes, multiple practices, and many SDLC phases which we have. What we want to integrate together multiple team, multiple tools we have. Each one of you are using different tools. We need to integrate all these phases. RO is important. See, everything you are doing, but RO is missing, so we are not integrated automatically. Manual integration is there. So all this thing we are trying to solve it out through integrations. So you see that you may be doing lots of things, but it should be well integrations. You may be using any tools in the DevOps, but it should be well integrated. So how
Rajesh,
can
just
we do?
one
Yeah,
question. So we have so many tools like in terms of continuous integration, continuous deployment. Then we have build tools, and then we have monitoring tools. So how we decide like which tools? Like every organization are using different tools. Like if I say for continuous integration, we are preferring Jenkins. But what about others? Like they will be deciding different tools for. So how they decide? Like I know this will be in terms of cost, but what they how they decide which tools we need to prefer for a CI/CD. So any suggestion
see,
on this?
basically, this is a very complex question. Um, why I'll tell you. Any in a, I have worked with more than 20 products and 12 different companies so far. And every time I join, I will have an interview in something else, and I'll start working on something else. So this is the reality of the day. See, what I would suggest, don't don't uh, you know go into that flow, because if you start getting panic by looking at the so many tools, you'll get lost. There is a problem, okay, for in SDLC cycle. There is one problem. Let's say there's a 20 problem, and for each problem you have 20 tools actually. So don't try to learn everything. Only try to learn only one thing, and that's what I was showing you this one. Let me show you one. Don't try to learn everything, because you don't have a time for all this thing. You don't have
Right.
energy for all this thing. So here, let's say pick one tool. For example, for versioning, there is a GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab, TFS, Azure DevOps, AWS DevOps, Gerrit. Plenty of tools we have. I will learn only one, GitHub. That's all, which is the most popular and widely used. Now, some projects they say, hey, I'm using Bitbucket. No problem. I know GitHub. For example, I'll put it in this way. The bike, Bajaj bike, which you can ride very well. Can't you ride the Hero Honda and some other TVS bike? If given opportunity, maybe a little bit slow initial days, but after that it will become usual, because you know that everything is same, right? Functionality is same. Correct now? Right?
Yes, yes.
So here also in a configuration management, so many tools are there. Which one to pick? Different projects are using different tool. So pick one of this generic one which is most widely used. Now, if some projects say, hey, I'm using the Salt, I'll tell you that just 6 months before I joined one project, I'm very good in Chef, Puppet, Ansible and all, but they say I'm using Salt. So I say, I am know this tool very well, Ansible, Puppet, and Chef, but I don't know the Salt. But more or less, the conceptually, it will help me to learn in a few hours or few days or something. And likewise, so you cannot satisfy every interviewer for every JD. You say, this is what I know, this is the problems. If given opportunity, I can learn faster because I am a pro in one tool, which will be replication. Features will be replicated in the same other tools also, something similar. Make sense?
Okay. Thanks, Rajesh. Yeah.
Yeah. So likewise, and in this course, if you see all the most widely tools, which is generic one, I have added, and I keep modifying it. In fact, after 10 days this course will be modified. You'll see that little bit of modification. I'll remove some of the tools and add some of the tools also, because this world is changing a lot. I'm getting also frustrated, to be honest. Every 6 months or 1 year we have a new tools coming up in the market, and uh, old tools is getting deprecated or something like that. Okay, so the question is, how can you help your organization for the quality release, immediate release, and cost reduction? And that is where you have to change in approach. Look at this here, how you're transforming. From waterfall model to agile you migrated, and then from now agile to DevOps. So that means DevOps approach, which required earlier the development team were agile, now operations team need to be agile as well. That means they need to work together with a single mindset, common culture, and do everything. So that is what exactly we have DevOps. Are you understanding, all of you? But so far, whatever we discussed, if you think, is that DevOps? Then I think you are not understood so far, because we have lots of things to know. So we have a few more sessions on this. I mean, maybe 1 hour more sessions or something, but I'll keep it this one for tomorrow, so that slowly if I get started with it, it'll be good for all of us. So any questions, all of you? Any questions?
So Rajesh, we will be covering one project, right? In this
Three
2 months
projects
training.
will be there. Three
3
projects.
projects. Okay.
Okay, so
Rajesh,
I'll give
one
you.
silly, it might be a silly question, but like development team, I know what they do, they develop application and all, but what does an operation team do? Like, is it by deploying
They
or?
manage. They manage the production servers in simple way. They manage the
Oh,
production server.
that's okay.
They automate it. They manage the security. They manage the availability, scalability. They
Okay,
manage
got it.
the many things they have actually. Incident management,
Okay,
post-mortem, many things they do.
okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, so let's continue the session for tomorrow. I have one more sessions on the DevOps, and after that we'll get started the Linux tomorrow. Okay. Bye everyone.